21 Worst Video Games, Part 1. In the early days of gaming, there were a lot of duds. Games were often released before they were finished, leading to buggy, unfinished products. Other times, developers would simply run out of ideas, resulting in unimaginative, repetitive games. However, in recent years, the quality of video games has improved dramatically. Thanks to advances in technology and an influx of talent, the average game is now better than ever before. As a result, it's become increasingly difficult to make a truly bad video game. In fact, the worst games of recent years have been so bad that they're actually good. Here are 21 of the worst video games of all time.
E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
E.T. the Extraterrestrial video game is one of the worst video games of all time for a number of reasons. First, the game is extremely short, with most players being able to finish it in just a few hours. Second, the gameplay is extremely repetitive and feels more like a chore than fun. Third, the graphics are some of the worst seen in a video game, with blocky and lifeless characters that look like they're straight out of an Atari 2600 game. Lastly, the game is incredibly frustrating, with many players giving up long before they reach the end. In short, the E.T. the Extraterrestrial video game is a mess from start to finish, and is easily one of the worst games ever made.
2. Superman 64.
In 1998, WBIE released Superman 64, a video game based on the then popular Superman, the animated series. The game was met with widespread critical acclaim, with many reviewers calling it one of the worst video games of all time. There are several reasons for this. First, the graphics are poor. The characters and environments look dated and bland, and the textures are often blurry. Second, the controls are unresponsive and clumsy. Players often found themselves struggling to perform simple actions, such as flying or punches. Third, the camera is terrible. It frequently gets stuck in corners or behind objects, making it difficult to see what's going on. As a result of these issues, Superman 64 is widely considered to be one of the worst video games of all time.
3. Leisure Suit Larry, box office bust.
Video games have come a long way since the early days of Pong and Pac-Man. Today, there are games with stunning graphics, complex storylines, and immersive gameplay that can keep players entertained for hours on end. However, not every game is a winner. In fact, some games are so bad that they become infamous. Leisure Suit Larry, Box Office Bust is one such game. The seventh installment in the Leisure Suit Larry series, Box Office Bust, was released to critical panning in 2009. Critics slammed the game for its poor graphics, repetitive gameplay, and gratuitous sexual content. In addition, the game was buggy and often unplayable. As a result, Leisure Suit Larry, Box Office Bust is considered one of the worst video games of all time.
4. Duke Nukem Forever.
Few video games have generated as much anticipation as Duke Nukem Forever. First announced in 1997, the game was finally released in 2011 to widespread disappointment. Critics and gamers alike agreed that Duke Nukem Forever was a massive disappointment, and it was quickly dubbed one of the worst video games of all time. There are several reasons why the game was such a letdown. First, the graphics were outdated and looked like they belonged in the late 1990s rather than 2011. Second, the gameplay was stale and uninspired, and many of the puzzles were far too easy to solve. Third, the dialogue was often juvenile and crass, making Duke Nukem seem like an unlikable character. Overall, Duke Nukem Forever is a prime example of why gamers should be careful about getting their hopes up for upcoming titles.
5. Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Aliens, Colonial Marines is a first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Software and published by Sega. The game was released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 on February 12, 2013. The game is set in the year 2179, after the events of the film Aliens, and follows a group of colonial marines as they are dispatched to investigate the disappearance of the USS Sulaco and its crew. Upon arrival at LV-426, the marines discover that the planet has been overrun by xenomorphs. The game was heavily criticized upon release for its large number of bugs, poor graphics, and lack of fidelity to the source material. In particular, the artificial intelligence, AI, of both human and alien characters was criticized as being poor. In addition, many reviewers felt that the game failed to live up to its potential as a sequel to Aliens. As a result, Aliens, Colonial Marines is often considered to be one of the worst video games of all time.
Discover the full list in the next video.